Hello, hello everybody. How are you guys doing? How are my gentlings? Oh my goodness. Hello, hello. Oh my gosh, my face isn't tracking. Oh, there we go. There we go. How are you guys doing? How are you guys doing? Hello, Joshua. Hello, Sun. How are you guys? Hello, hello, hello. Oh my goodness. Oh no, my chat isn't working right now. Hold on. Let me see if I can fix that. Let me see if I can fix that. Oh. There we go. Okay. There we go. It's working now. Oh my gosh. How are you guys? Playing the new Pokemon game. Ooh, that's exciting. That's exciting. Whee! How you Sunbro Nation? You sound excited. I'm angry idiots are spoiling Spider-Man for me and it's on the recommended. I don't even actively browse for it. Oh no, I'm so sorry. My gosh, that really stinks. I hope you get to... Hello, Galactic Hero. Hello, Annabelle. Welcome, welcome, guys. How are you all doing? Oh gosh, is the volume sounding okay for you guys? Is it too loud, too quiet? Let me know, okay? Oh, I'm gonna scooch a little bit. Okay, there we go. I'm using your self-care ASMR video to plan something really special for my fiance. That's incredible. Oh my gosh, I hope she loves whatever you're planning. Here, alright, I'm gonna move this a little bit closer. Okay, okay, how is that sounding? Is that alright, guys? Alright, is over by the fireplace reading a book, looks over. Oh hey guys, hope y'all are doing good. We are doing great, Kaden, welcome, welcome. It's good to see you. Well, as you guys may have noticed, I did a bit of dressing up for this week's streams. And this overlay is actually by Hoshi Art on Twitter. I actually have them linked in the description on YouTube side. If you guys are interested in checking them out, they have some awesome art, some awesome overlays. Very, very talented. And let's see. Oh yeah, another small change you guys may have noticed. I also figured out the way to show the recent subscribers and the recent donations that are coming in, so you guys will be displayed on stream. Oh yeah, also we have a donation bar right down here. It's the little green thing under the recent donations, and we have a goal. And I know we usually don't do that. We usually don't, but I wanted to do something special for Christmas. Yeah, very excited, very excited. Hello, Francie617, welcome, welcome. Let's see, oh yeah, as for donations, there is going to be milestone rewards, and a percentage of the donations will go towards Team Seas, which is a charity that's aiming to remove 30 million pounds of trash from the ocean by January 1st. January 1st of 2022, so it's coming up really, really soon. Each dollar is 1 pound of trash out of our ocean, and they're currently at 18,674,771 pounds. That's what's been removed so far. So it's super crazy and awesome, and I love it. Yeah. As soon as I saw the notification, I started getting ready for bed. Oh, I'm so happy. Thank you guys for showing. I'm very excited. I really like Christmas stories, and so I'm very excited to read some for you guys. What happened since I was gone? Oh, well, I made some changes just for this week for, you know, for Christmas. For Christmas. Or any holiday, really. But yeah. So I have a few books here. I actually have Twas the Night Before Christmas. I also have How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I have the Nutcracker. I have the Polar Express. And Robert Frost's Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Yeah. There's lots of interesting ones that I haven't read yet, so I'm very excited. Aside from that though, I'm well and healthy and ready to go back to sleep. How are you? I'm doing wonderful. My gosh. I'm so glad everything looks nice on stream and everything. Very excited to have a refreshing little change, something festive. Yeah. That being said, do you guys want to pick the first book? Or do you want me to pick? I don't mind either way. The Polar Express. Alright, we got one for Polar Express. Happy holidays, Nemu. I usually lurk, but I've really been enjoying your streams these past few months. Thank you so much, Hardy Leaf. I'm so glad you're liking them. Oh my gosh. Thank you. What's happening again? Oh, I'm gonna be doing stories. I'm gonna be telling Christmas stories, like bedtime ones. Oh my gosh. Oh, Kaden, for the super chat. Thank you so much. Let us commence forth with the donos. Yay! Thank you so much. Thank you. Also, my favorite Christmas movie? Yes, The Polar Express is a very, very good Christmas movie. Let me go ahead and grab that one. Also, again, is the volume okay? Is the volume alright for you guys? Too quiet? Too loud? Just right? Okay, there we go. Alright, we got that there. I'm gonna adjust a little bit. Let me know if it's too much. Alright, I just did a little bit. Tiny bit. I'm sorry for my chair squeaks. I'm gonna scooch this really quick. Right there. Oh, jeez. Oh, there we go. Okay. There we go. Glad I made it. Oh, yay. Some weeb with beats? Some weeb with beats. Nice name. Alright. Scooch. Oh my gosh, Tafelgan. Welcome. Alright, we're gonna start with the Polar Express. I actually have the hardcover. And it's, for being such an old book, I actually kept it in very good condition. But yeah. Alright, we'll go ahead. So the Polar Express. Oh gosh. The book is still very stiff. Alright. On Christmas Eve, many years ago, I lay quietly in my bed. I did not rustle the sheets. I breathed slowly and silently. I was listening for a sound a friend had told me I'd never hear. The ringing bells of Santa's sleigh. There is no Santa, my friend had insisted, but I knew he was wrong. Late that night, I did hear sounds, though not of ringing bells. From outside came the sound of hissing steam and squeaking metal. I looked through my window and saw a train standing perfectly still in front of my house. We see a picture of a little boy looking through his window from his bed. The snow falling outside, very cute. Also, thank you Sunbro Nation for the super chat. I want to become a charity streamer now for autism research, ASPCA, mental health stuff, and suicide prevention. Those are all wonderful causes. That's incredible. Thank you so much. It was wrapped in an apron of steam. Snowflakes fell lightly around it. A conductor stood at the open door of one of the cars. He took a large pocket watch from his vest. then looked up at my window. I put on my slippers and robe. I tiptoed downstairs and out the door. "All aboard!" the conductor cried out. I ran up to him. "Well," he said, "are you coming?" "Where?" I asked. "Why, to the North Pole, of course," was his answer. "This is the Polar Express." I took his outstretched hand and he pulled me aboard. The train was filled with other children, all in their pajamas and nightgowns. We sang Christmas carols and ate candies with nougat centers as white as snow. We drank hot cocoa as thick and rich as melted chocolate bars. Outside, the light of towns and villages flickered in the distance as the Polar Express raced northward. Soon there was no more lights to be seen. We traveled through cold, dark forests where lean wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from our train as it thundered through the quiet wilderness. We climbed the mountains so high it seemed as if we would scrape the moon. But the Polar Express never slowed down. Faster and faster we ran along, rolling over peaks and through valleys like a car on a roller coaster. The mountains turned into hills, the hills to snow-covered plains. We crossed a barren desert of ice, the great polar ice cap. Lights appeared in the distance. They looked like the lights of a strange ocean liner sailing on a frozen sea. "There," said the conductor, "is the North Pole." North Pole. The North Pole. It was a huge city, standing alone at the top of the world, filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. At first, we saw no elves. "They are gathering at the center of the city," the conductor told us. "That is where Santa will give the first gift of Christmas." "Who receives the first gift?" we all asked. The conductor answered, "He will choose one of you." Oh, how exciting would that be? Imagine getting the first present for Christmas. "Look," shouted one of the children, "the elves." Outside we saw hundreds of elves. As our train drew closer to the center of the North Pole, we slowed to a crawl. So crowded were the streets with Santa's helpers. When the Polar Express could go no farther, we stopped and the conductor led us outside. We pressed through the crowd to the edge of the large, open circle. In front of us stood Santa's sleigh. The reindeer were excited. They pranced and paced, ringing the silver sleigh bells that hung from their harnesses. It was a magical sound, like nothing I'd ever heard. Across the circle, the elves moved apart, and Santa Claus appeared. The elves moved. Oh, I just read that part. Oh my gosh. The elves cheered wildly. Thank you so much for the follow, Alondra Lanley. I hope I said that right. He marched over to us and, pointing to me, said, "Let's have this fellow here." He jumped into his sleigh. The conductor handed me up. I sat on Santa's knee, and he asked, "Now, what would you like for Christmas?" I knew that I could have any gift I could imagine, but the thing I wanted most for Christmas was not inside Santa's giant bag. What I wanted more than anything was one silver bell from Santa's sleigh. When I asked, Santa smiled. Then he gave me a hug and told an elf to cut a bell from a reindeer's harness. The elf tossed it up to Santa. He stood, holding the bell high above him, and called out, "The first gift of Christmas." A clock struck midnight as the elves roared their approval. Santa handed the bell to me, and I put it in my bathrobe pocket. The conductor helped me down from the sleigh. Santa shouted out the reindeers' names and cracked his whip. Santa circled once above us and then disappeared into the cold, dark, polar sky. As soon as we were back inside the Polar Express, the other children asked to see the bell. I reached into my pocket, but the only thing I felt was a hole. I had lost the silver bell from Santa Claus's sleigh. "Let's hurry outside and look for it," one of the children said, but the train gave a sudden lurch and started moving. We were on our way home. It broke my heart to lose the bell. When the train reached my house, I sadly left the other children. I stood at my doorway and waved goodbye. The conductor said something from the moving train, but I couldn't hear. "What?" I yelled out. He cupped his hands and around his mouth. "Merry Christmas," he shouted. The Polar Express let out a loud blast from its whistle and sped away. On Christmas morning, my little sister Sarah and I opened our presents. When it looked as if everything had been unwrapped, Sarah found one last small box behind the tree. It had my name on it, and inside was the silver bell. There was a note. "Found this on the seat of my sleigh. Fix that hole in your pocket. Signed, Mr. C." I shook the bell, and it made the most beautiful sound my sister and I had ever heard. But my mother said, "Oh, that's too bad." "Yes," said my father, "it's broken." When I'd shaken the bell, my parents had not heard a sound. At one time, most of my friends could hear the bell, but as years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even Sarah found one Christmas that she could no longer hear its sweet sound. Though I've grown old, the bell still rings for me as it does for all who truly believe. The end. And that was the Polar Express. How many of you guys have seen the movie? It's probably one of my favorite Christmas movies, actually. It has some very lovely songs in it. It's very fun. Let's see. Hello, hello, all of the newcomers. Welcome, welcome. I am Nemu. We are reading Christmas stories. So I hope you guys enjoy. Get tucked in. Get super comfy, everybody. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put this. Oh gosh, where am I gonna put this? I'll put this over here. Alright. I think next I will go ahead and read Robert Frost's Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. Oh, thank you so much, Mr. Melon. Welcome to the membership. You're right now a Snuggly supporter. Woo! Actually, for all of those on YouTube side, can we get a little cheer emote for our new member? Oh, what a lovely story. Such cozy vibes here. Yes, 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 yes. I hope you guys enjoy. Let's see. All right. Stopping by the woods on a snowy evening. Oh my gosh, thank you so much, Mr. Melon, for the super chat. Finally got a stable site, finally got a membership. Well, welcome. We are so happy to see you. Right. Stopping by woods on a snowy evening. Yes, yes, yes. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. And there's some lovely illustrations of that old man having a very fun time in the snow. My little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near. Between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bells a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and downy flake. What story is this? This is Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by Robert Frost. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises I must keep. And miles to go before I sleep. And miles to go before I sleep. And that is the end. This is a small poem with some lovely illustrations, which I wish I could share with you guys. Yes, yes, yes. Alright, shall we move on to the Nutcracker now? Oh gosh, it's actually kind of a heavy book. Here we go. It's the Nutcracker, a story by E.T.A. Hoffman. There is an introduction part. Would you guys like me to read that as well? The art is so pretty in this. I wish I could show you guys. I really do. It's actually very, very gorgeous. Have you ever loved a toy so much you wished it could come to life? Did you dream of the exciting adventures you would have with your special friend? If so, you are not the only one. Nearly 200 years ago, in 1815, the German writer E.T.A. Hoffmann wrote a story called The Nutcracker and the Mouse King, telling how a little girl's love brought to life her cherished Nutcracker, an enchanted Christmas gift from her mysterious godfather. The tale charmed readers of all ages, including the French writer Alexandre Dumas, who published a retelling of the story in 1847. From the adaptation, the Russian composer Peter, oh my goodness, I can't actually pronounce that last name, and the choreographer Lev Ivanov created their ballet, The Nutcracker, first performed in St. Petersburg in 1892. It is now a classic performed throughout the world every holiday season. Why has The Nutcracker remained so popular? As the story itself explains, if you love something very much, it is always alive. Pure love of this extraordinary story has kept the words alive for nearly 200 years, so they can dance for you across these colorful pages. There we go. Thank you so much for following. Is it Jose AR00? Thank you so much. Alright, Chapter 1. It had been snowing all day, and the gray city of Frankfurt was transformed. From her bedroom window, Maria watched the white flakes falling across the chimneys and tiled roofs, whirling against dark windows and laying a thick carpet down every street and alley. The wind was rising, frequently blowing the snow in layers so dense as to hide the houses opposite. Then the layers would open, and you could see every lintel and cornice growing bigger with the snow. Presently lamps were lighted in the windows next door, and in the bright beams the driven snowflakes surged up like a crowd of elfin dancers in ballet dress. Waltzing and following fast behind each other, they moved on in a mighty leap straight across the space towards Maria's window. She heard the tinkle of tiny diamonds upon the panes. She saw the fairy-like figures, just for a moment, before the great blast of wind shook the old house and threw a blanket of snow across the glass. Luckily, Maria thought, the fir tree had been brought to the door that morning, for it was Christmas Eve. The party gifts had all been wrapped, and the good things to eat prepared or delivered. But how would the guests ever get here through such a storm? There was to be a dance in the big room. At the back of the house, and Maria could not bear to miss any of the ladies in their evening dresses. And what of old Papa? He was godfather to both Maria and her brother Fritz. Thank you so much for following, Snapopray. I hope I'm saying that right. I feel like I'm not, though. But welcome, welcome, welcome. Christmas would not be Christmas without Godfather Drosselmeyer, such a strange old man, so wise and so clever, so severe at times in his black formal clothes, his old-fashioned manners, and grave voice. For years he had worn a dark patch over one eye, but the other eye was as staring and as sharp as an owl's. And yet Maria and Fritz loved him completely. No one else could tell such exciting stories, or bring such a feeling of wonder to every part of the festivities. Also, thank you, Bread My Friend, for following. Thank you, thank you. and his presents were fantastic beyond belief, and each one made by himself. It was almost as if he were a magician. Oh, that's curious. Last year he had brought them a toy castle on a hill above a moat, and when you turned a crank, a troop of knights rode up to the gate. Then the drawbridge was lowered, the great door opened, and out came a princess to receive her guests. Before that, one year, there had been a magic theater with 2 scenes from Sleeping Beauty, acted out in tiny figures. And other inventions so precious that Father had a special cupboard built to keep them safe behind glass doors. The cupboard, too, stood in the big room downstairs, where the Christmas party always took place. Maria unlatched the window and pushed it open against the snow piled on the sill. The icy white powder rushed up into her face, but as she leaned out, a little she could see people with lanterns coming down the street. There were 4 grown-ups and several children. All of them were bundled tightly in heavy coats. They looked funny because their feet were almost buried in the soft snow. Beyond them was another group of people. Surely that was her Aunt Lisa in the scarlet greatcoat. All of them were coming towards Maria's house. Soon she and Fritz would be summoned to the big room, and the wonderful Christmas party would begin. Suddenly, Maria felt herself lifted from behind by 2 strong arms. She struggled and kicked backward and came down in the room with a thud. She had scooped up a fistful of snow, and now she held it menacingly between her brother Fritz. He always played tricks like that, but he let her go to dodge the snowball, which broke on the carpet behind him. "Ria," he said, "Mr. and Mrs. Kretschmas have come, and Mr. and Mrs. Crone with all their children, and the whole Zimmerman family. Come down the back stairs. You can see the grown-ups trimming the tree through the keyhole of the side door. The tree is the best we've ever had, and I think I have a real cannon, and you have a doll with a big mustache. You're making it up. No doll has a mustache." "This one does, and a blue hat with a plume. It's a man doll, I guess, and I think he has a long sword. He must be a general." "You're crazy. Who's ever heard of a general doll?" "I saw it," said Fritz, "and at any rate there is a table loaded with food, chocolate cake, ginger cookies, and heaps of peppermint stripes, and all colored bonbons. Come on. Has Godfather come?" "Godfather never comes at the beginning. Don't you remember? But he will come through the storm. He's so old and wrinkled, and then he has only one good eye. He'll come all right, with some mad present that is kept locked up. The snow won't keep him away, you know. I think he can fly like an owl and see in the dark. How he scares me sometimes. I'll bet he could fly right through that window. Look out, here he comes." Hoo, hoo. The blizzard shrieked against the window pane. A chunk of solid snow dropped unexpectedly from the roof like a white owl upon the ledge outside. Fritz ran and locked the window tight. "Also, thank you for the follow, Misty. Thank you, thank you." Then grabbed his sister's hand, and the children rushed laughing out of the room. A mouse scurried out of sight as Maria and Fritz hurried down the hall. Dr. Staubum's house was old and huge, and there was a number of mice in the walls. But he was too kind-hearted to trap them. Fritz did not mind them at all, But ever since Maria had seen one running off with a little rug from her dollhouse, she did not like them. They were big, blackish mice, too, and having such kind-hearted people to live with had made them very bold. Sometimes, at night, most often when the moon was shining, Maria would be awakened by the faint but persistent crunch, crunch of a mouse gnawing a hole in the wall behind her bureau. There was a broad, steep stairway going down to the family's room on the floors below. On the ground floor, running out like a wing into the garden, was the largest room in the house. It was a kind of drawing room and playroom combined. You could reach it through the main hall, and you could reach it by the way of the back stairs, which was the way Fritz and Maria now took. Thank you for the follow, Roxas Saber. Welcome, welcome. When this house was built, long ago, doors often had keyholes as big as your middle finger, and since this door was a double one, the keyhole was extra large. At first, as Maria looked, everything was blurred by people moving back and forth, as busy as squirrels, each one adding some bit to the preparations. The carpet had been rolled back for dancing. Along the right side was a long table spread with platters and raised dishes of all kinds of food. Behind and above the people, in front of one window and nearly as tall, rose the Christmas tree. Its dark and beautiful branches curved out into the room, layer above layer, adorned with marvelous little toys, the fairy tale angels and birds, with flowers of spun glass, and with amusing cotton kittens and gnomes and animals of all kinds. So many that you could not possibly count them, and in much the way that snow might lie on the fir tree in the forest, a frosting of silver tinsel dripped from bough to bough in even curves, growing smaller as the tree narrowed upward. Near the top was a figure of Father Christmas, and at the very top a star. "Isn't the tree wonderful?" Maria exclaimed. Clara and Carl were only two of several cousins who had come to the Christmas Eve party here, but they also knew about the side door in the great room, and now came running in upon Fritz and Maria. "Merry Christmas," they called. "Oh, you're peeking. Let me look, let me look." And pushing and shoving, as over-hasty people do, they all tried to look through the keyhole, no one having time enough to catch more than a blurred image before another child was close upon him trying to see, and finally all of them falling on top of one another in a mad scramble of giggles and acrobatics. They would have rolled in a heap right into the room had the door been suddenly opened. Just then the clock struck 7, and the children heard Miss Storm calling, "Children, Father Christmas has come." They had just managed to disentangle themselves, to stand up and smooth out their party clothes, when the doors were thrown open wide. Maria's mother stood inside with her arms extended. "Merry Christmas, my darlings," she said. The tree had been lighted. Its glow and its fragrance filled the room. At the top of the tree, the stars shone. Every ornament twinkled. "Merry Christmas," the children said softly. Thank you, Jesus Garcia, for subscribing. Welcome, welcome. Chapter 2. It was the custom for the children to have a little dance first, and then for the grown-ups to have a waltz, and then for young and old to dance together. Between dances they had glasses of punch, and Maria helped her mother pass the little cups around. She did not see Godfather. She kept looking, too, for the strange man doll that Fritz had described, but there was nothing. Like that among her many presents, and now she was far too busy passing the cold meat and sandwiches and little cakes to think about her gift. But quite suddenly, as she offered a slice of cake to old Mrs. Gumble, who was sitting close to the tree, Maria saw the most remarkable thing. Fritz had been telling the truth, standing stiffly on a little table, as if at attention, was a little soldier. He wore highly polished boots, red trousers with a blue stripe, a white vest crossed by 2 bands of crimson, a deep blue general's coat, and an impressive hat with a plume. He must be made out of some kind of metal, Maria thought, for he looked so sturdy and strong. He had a high-arched nose, a jutting chin, and round, brave-looking eyes. A rather large mustache grew from his upper lip. Again, this book has some wonderful illustrations. It shows a bunch of women and men dressed very nicely, all dancing in a very, very intricate scene. You have such a sweet voice. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much, Jose. Thank you. He held a long sword at his left side, and his eyes had such a trusting and noble expression, brave and gentle at the same time, that Maria lost her heart to him at once. Why, he is like a little prince, she thought. The soldier looked up at her steadily. His painted eyelashes gave him a very alert and appealing expression, like a big dog begging for a piece of your cake. How could anyone resist him? He made you feel protective and brave yourself. Thank you, child, she heard Miss Grumple saying. The almond torte is delicious. The clock struck again, and as it did so the door to the big hall opened slowly, and there stood Godfather. He was dressed all in black, with a gold chain around his neck. His white cravat and his hair like spun silver made the black suit look very somber. He always wore a black patch over his left eye, but his other eye was so bright and piercing that it served him well. His usually white face was flushed with a rosy glow from a snowy night. When he came forward, he was followed by 2 tiny little men servants, each carrying a Christmas package nearly as big as a big boy. That's an odd unit of measurement, don't you think? No one had seen such a large package before. When the greetings were over, the 2 servants untied and opened the package. Out of one box they took a huge cabbage. Out of the other a very pink cake. Everyone crowded around in astonishment and curiosity. The servants then lifted the cabbage and the cake, and underneath each was a doll nearly 3 feet tall, and almost real looking. They were dressed as a shepherd and a shepherdess. Then they seemed to come alive. The dolls rose and bowed to the audience, then to each other, and executed a most graceful and charming dance. They ended by bowing low and sitting again in position, ready for the green cabbage and the pink cake to cover them. Everyone was delighted and charmed by their performance. When they had vanished under their covers, Godfather came over to Maria and Fritz. He kissed each of them on the forehead and said, "My dear godchildren, These creations were made for you. They come to wish you a happy Christmas, to give you old Godfather's love. Thank you, Godfather, they said together, and Merry Christmas to you. Godfather took Maria's hand affectionately. I sent you and Fritz another little gift, he said. Have you seen it? No? Well, look there. He went across toward the tree, past old Mrs. Gumble, who was still munching sweet cakes, and picked up the brave iron soldier. Oh, I love him, Godfather, Maria cried. He's a Nutcracker, said Papa. Look, his jaws are so strong that he can crack the hardest nut without hurting his teeth at all. Papa held the soldier with one hand, and with his other raised the soldier's long sword back. As he did so, the mouth opened wide, revealing 2 rows of very white teeth. Then Godfather placed a walnut in the Nutcracker's mouth, pressed down the sword, and the jaw closed, cracking the shell into 4 even pieces. He handed the cracked nut to Maria. Then he tried a hazelnut, an almond, and a Brazil nut, each time giving the open nut to one little girl or another. The boys, too, had crowded around to see this curious fellow, but Fritz was not much impressed. Didn't I tell you, Maria? He said. Now you have a doll with a big black mustache. He's not a doll. He's a magic Nutcracker. What's so magic about him? Fritz asked. He had never seen a Nutcracker shaped like a soldier, but he had seen silver ones and wooden ones with springs. Let me have him, he demanded. I'll bet he can't crack every nut. No, you'll hurt him. Godfather, please don't give Nutcracker to Fritz. But I bought him for both of you, my dear. There, Fritz, and be careful. He'll crack your nuts for years, but you must not abuse him. Thereupon Godfather turned away to speak with some older friends. Fritz held the little soldier high in the air and started putting nuts in his mouth and crushing them, one after another. Crack, 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 went the little jaws, and nut after nut fell out perfectly, bitten into 4 pieces. Then Fritz became annoyed and took an exceptionally large and heavy hickory nut, the toughest he could find, and pushed it far back into the soldier's mouth. Crack, crack, crack. Fritz banged the sword up and down. The nut fell out, its shell broken into 4 even pieces, but there was a loose, clanking sound. The little mouth fell open again, though no one had lifted the sword. The Nutcracker was badly hurt. Fritz, you did it on purpose. You hurt him on purpose. How unhappy he looks now. Maria was dreadfully upset. Fritz laughed to cover his shame and turned away. But Maria took Nutcracker up in her arms and tried again and again to get his lower jaw into position. For Nutcracker seemed more real to her than did any of her dolls, and she felt certain he was in pain. What would she do now? Papa had been watching her from across the room. He came over and shook his head. Gently he took up the Nutcracker and tried to set the broken jaw, but it was no use. He's badly hurt, Maria, he said, but perhaps we can heal this wound in time. Let us bandage it well and give him some rest. Taking a large linen handkerchief from his coat pocket, Grandfather bound it firmly around the jaw, holding it in position as he did so. With love and good care, he should recover. Now put him down and enjoy the rest of the party. Maria went to the toy cupboard, where one of her doll's beds stood in the lowest shelf. It was just the right size for the Nutcracker. Gently, she made him comfortable in the bed, and she was not at all surprised when his eyes closed as she laid him down. He had no fever, she could tell. He could sleep now. In the morning, she would come to look after him and bring him some nourishment. Meanwhile, the party had become very merry. People were laughing and talking. Coming back from the cupboard, Maria saw that the presents had just been given. For each girl, a handsomely dressed doll, with a doll's blanket and pillow. For each boy, a little rifle, and either a drum or a fife. Soon the girls were rocking their new babies in their arms, and the boys, led by Fritz, formed into a platoon of well-drilled troops and went parading back and forth across the room. Shrill fifes pierced the air, and drum rolls thundered out over all conversation. On they came, in full battle array, and suddenly making a left march. They plunged head-on into the group of girls with their dolls. Maria started scolding Fritz, and in 2 minutes there was more noise in the room than in the wild storm outside. At length Fritz's father could tolerate it no longer. "Stop it! Stop it!" he cried. "This is a party for everyone, not just for boys and girls. Come all of you and take partners. We need another dance." Aunt Lisa sat at the square piano, and soon they were all off in a lively polka. It was great fun, and had to be followed by an easier waltz. With the ices and rich mocha cake were served, with hot chocolate for the children. Some of the grown people had wine, and they offered toasts to each other and to Christmas itself. They stood in front of the tree and sang the carol of Christmas night. And then it was time to be going. Old Miss Gumple was already nodding, and several boys were struggling to keep from yawning. The warm room, the rich food, and the dancing had made everyone tired. So into their winter wraps, and out into the snowy night. Everyone went, with such fond farewells that you would have thought there was no time so wonderful as Christmas. And you would have been right. The last to come was the last to leave. Long after the children were in their beds, Mother and Father stood in the front hall saying goodnight to the lingering guests. It was getting chilly from the constant opening of the outer door. Only when everyone else had gone did Godfather appear at the far end of the hall, not from the cloakroom, although he was covered from shoulders to toe in an immense gray fur coat. There was a crafty glint in his eye and a smile on his face. "Well, you've made an old man feel young again," he said to his hosts. "What a splendid and joyous party! I have not spent a more enjoyable evening in many a year. Truly, a spell was put upon this house tonight." He shook hands with Doctor, put on his tall fur hat, and stood on the top step. The snowstorm swirled down around him, and he seemed to vanish it like a wizard. Days later, a maid, who had come back into the empty party room that night to tidy up a bit after all the guests were gone, said she'd been badly frightened to find an old man there in the corner, bending over the doll's bed. He had a slender, shining object in one hand, like a medicine dropper or a small screwdriver. When she called out to him, he just raised one finger to his lips and made the sign of silence. In the dim room, the maid was too startled to know if it was one of the guests. She thought it could not possibly be. Thank you, Bubbles, for following. Welcome, welcome. Alright, chapter 3. Crunch, crunch, crunch. there was that sound in the walls again. Maria sat up in bed, holding the quilt around her. How cold it was. She leaned from her bed to look at the sky. The snow had stopped falling and the moon had come out. She could see it glinting on the tiny tinsel wrapper of a candy on her bed table. She had brought it up for a good night's snack and had been too sleepy to eat it. She felt wide awake now, though she could not have slept very long, for it was deep in the night. Crunch, crunch. They were louder than ever. Were there bigger mice, or were there more of them? She thought the Christmas tree and of the Nutcracker lying in his little bed with its thin cover. She wished she had brought him up here. Surely she should have given him more covers, for the party room would be bitterly cold by now. Maria slid out of bed and into her slippers and wrapper. When she lighted her bedside candle lamp, the sound in the walls stopped abruptly. She opened the door quietly and went down the long, dark hall towards the stairs. Maria's velvet slippers muffled with her steps. The stairs were carpeted and firm, and she went down them in complete silence. Even going into the big room made no sound, for the door was ajar and she could pass through. Most of the room lay in shadow. Her candle beam lit only a narrow strip of the floor. As she came in, it followed across the wall, up the tall owl clock. It picked out the dial, and then both golden hands pointed together to the owl's head on top. The owl stirred and opened its eyes, and at that very instant the clock spoke, a loud, deep, and hollow ding, 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 that echoed from hall to wall. The owl raised itself up and began beating its wings. The clock struck again and again as Maria went on to the toy cupboard. In front of it was the doll's bed, and there was Nutcracker sound asleep. To get her great joy, his mouth was peacefully closed, and the bandage had slipped off. He would get well. She started to take him up in her arms, and there came that sound, faintly. Crunch, crunch, crunchity, crunch. Welcome, Omega Turds. Thank you for following. The sound came again, closer and louder. Crunch, crunch. It was followed by the rattle of tiny running feet. A mouse's face appeared under the Christmas tree and vanished. Then another one, much more near. Oh, what a big and ugly mouse. He seemed to be getting larger and coming straight for Maria. At this moment, her candle went out. A score of wicked little mouse eyes danced around the room. Terrified, Maria threw herself on the sofa and buried her face in the pillows. When she looked out again, there was a strange, dim light all over the room. She could not tell where it came from. Mice, large, fat, and nearly black mice, with long and stringy tails, were moving back and forth in a kind of planned activity, as if following orders. They had sharp little knives like swords, and they were assembling on the side of the room opposite the toy cupboard. Then Maria noticed the strangest thing. The mice and the sofa and the table and chairs were getting larger and larger. The Christmas tree boughs reached out into the room, the needles growing much longer. all of the ornaments blowing out like balloons, but keeping their various forms. The tinsel garlands were thick ropes of silver and gold. The doll's bed and the Nutcracker in it were becoming nearly life-sized. The room itself was expanding. Or was Maria growing smaller and smaller? She felt the sofa rising beneath her. The seat was already about 6 feet from the floor. She'd better get off right away. She slid down the curving leg and touched the floor just a few feet from her doll's bed, which was now roomy enough for Maria herself. Nutcracker was gone. The room was in a great commotion. The mice, as large as big dogs, were crowding together across the room, lining up in regular rows. One of them gave a high shriek, flourished his knife, and the whole band came charging toward the cupboard. Their wiry black feet made little scratchy sounds Maria knows so well. In another second, the mice would have been upon her, but a bugle sounded, the cupboard door opened, and a troop of wooden soldiers as large as the mice rushed out to engage them. Cannons were wheeled into position, and ball after ball, red, pink, white, and blue, was sent in showers against the mice. But how strangely soft they were, more like big gumdrops. They seemed only to bounce off the fat mice's fur. The bugle sounded again. A noble figure suddenly appeared at the head of the troops, in red trousers, blue coat, and a plumed headdress. It was Nutcracker. He had drawn his sword. He turned halfway round to the first line of troops, gave a command, and led them straight into the front ranks of the mouse army. What fierce hand-to-hand combat followed! The soldiers stood there bravely, but their tin swords were no match for the knives and sharp teeth of the mice. Crunch, crunch, sounded the mouse battle cry. Nutcracker signaled again, and the second line of soldiers ran into the fight. Pausing a few feet from their huddled foes, they fell to their knees and took aim with their rifles. The savage mouse horde came. On then, eyes and teeth flashing, the riflemen fired. Their courage was not matched by arms of sufficient power, but the shots only tickled through tough skins of the mice. 1 or 2 squealed in pain. The rest were only made more angry. Nutcracker now summoned his last defenses. The third rank came out on a run, guns lowered and sharp steel bayonets thrust forward. The mouse villains did not move, and were about to be pierced through and through when they dropped on all fours. They scampered cunningly between the soldiers' legs, unbalancing many of them, which they then carried off as prisoners. It seemed certain how that the toy cupboard, with all of its treasure, would fall victim to the mouse army. At this moment a horrible creature appeared, largest of all of the mice, his whiskers vibrating with rage. He wore a headdress of 7 crowns. He was the Mouse King. He put himself at the front of the cutthroat band, puffed himself up with pride, and prepared to lead them to the cupboard. Nutcracker, rather badly beaten, was directly in the Mouse King's path. He stood as usual, feet planted together, holding his long sword. The Mouse King had a club, black and dreadful to look at. He had his very large, very sharp teeth. There has never been such a strange and furious encounter. The Mouse King feigned a terrific blow with his club, and then darted under his raised weapon to give his foe a savage bite. But Nutcracker was made of iron, and the Mouse King hurt his teeth so severely that he became enraged. Taking his black club in both hands, He began beating Nutcracker mercilessly, but the brave soldier warded off the club with his sword. Quickly, Nutcracker followed that with a sharp thrust at his enemy's fat belly. But for all his fatness, the Mouse King was the quickest of the mice, and so expert was twisting and dodging and leaping and ducking the way of that. The Nutcracker could barely touch him lightly here and there. All the time he had to fend off the blows of the terrible club. Down, down, the terrible blows kept falling on Nutcracker's head and shoulders. Maria had been watching the combat from her place at the sofa. She saw the Nutcracker could not last much longer, but she had no gun, nor a sword. What could she do? Her fear for Nutcracker made her both cunning and bold. She took off one velvet slipper. No longer afraid, she ran up to the Mouse King, and he lifted his club high above his head. She threw the slipper right in his face. Astonished and enraged, the Mouse King deserted his opponent and raced after Maria. And that was just what she wanted. Immediately, Nutcracker came up behind the Mouse King and struck down the monster with his sword. Maria bounced into her doll's bed. She was not hurt at all. Nutcracker stood perfectly still for a moment. He was overcome with weariness and relief. His deep-drawn breathing was the only sound in the entire room. Or was it the thudding of his heart? Pa-pum, pa-pum, pa-pum. He put away his sword. Suddenly he toppled over, without bending, like a toy. The horde of mice, who had thought their monarch invincible, fell down in grief and terror at his death. In another moment they gathered up his swollen body in their arms and fled. He could hear the scampering of their wiry feet, even after the last one had disappeared. When they went, or how they went, is a mystery. All we know is that their wicked little eyes were never seen in that house again. The final chapter, Chapter 4. Nutcracker stirred and opened his eyes. He raised himself on one arm. Then he stood up, restored not only to his full strength, but to his true self. He was no longer dressed like a soldier. He was no longer made of iron. He was no longer had a mustache and a high-arched nose. He was a handsome youth dressed in long blue hose, a jacket and slippers of silver, and a little cloak lined with crimson. His hair was cut close, of a ruddy blonde color, almost matching his belt and scabbard of gold. Only his gentle eyes had not changed. There was a deep and round and confident as before. Nutcracker crossed to the far corner of the room and found the velvet slipper that had saved his life. And then to the opposite side, where Maria's wrapper hung over the foot of the bed. He put the wrapper around her and the slipper on her foot. "Is it you, Nutcracker?" Maria said, so astonished she could only stand and stare. "What does this all mean?" He smiled at her very tenderly. "It means," he said, "that the spell has been broken. I was a young boy who did not appreciate his good fortune. I had health and friends and work to do, but was so foolish as to be discontent and to complain of this and that all of the time. An enchanter deprived me of speech and turned me into a nutcracker, so that my mouth could no longer whine, but would serve some sort of purpose until I should learn to be glad of living and being of use. The spell would only be broken when someone realized how much I had changed and believed that I had a new heart under my funny costume of painted iron. It was you, Maria, who broke the enchantment, or rather, completed it. For you see, it was a lucky enchantment. since now I do know that it is good and wonderful to be alive." The room became illuminated as the moon began to shine on the snow outside the window. It shone on Maria's slipper and on the golden sword of Nutcracker's side. It shone on all of the twinkling ornaments on the Christmas tree. "What is your real name?" Maria asked. "My name is Prince Nikita, but now I like Nutcracker better." "And what are you going to do now?" "I think I shall go on being a Nutcracker," he said. "Thank you, Fat Steven Seagull, for following. Welcome, welcome." "That is as good a job as any, at least for a while. But if you are a prince, you must live far away, Nutcracker. Will you go there?" "No, I want to stay here with you, Maria. Where I live is quite far away, if you think it is far away, but it is only a few steps, really. Come, I will show you." One of the tall French windows blew open. Nutcracker lifted his beautiful sword and walked out into the night. Maria was spellbound for a moment, and then, as she was about to rise and follow him, her little bed began to move like a sleigh towards the window. She tucked the wrapper and the coverlet close around her. She was quite warm. Without a sound, her bed glided on, under the yellow curtains, through the window, and out the door. Have you ever been in a forest in deep winter, with the snow frozen so hard that you can walk on its glassy surface, and green fir and pine trees wearing edgings? Tell wonderful stories. Well, thank you, Kevin. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Of snow like white fur, with little tracks of rabbits and birds crisscrossing on the white floor, and tiny crystals of ice blinking on and off like winter fireflies, when it is so still that you can hear the least movement of a twig or shifting snow. Through such a forest, Maria found herself moving in her sleigh bed. Nutcracker strode on ahead, his red cloak like a beckoning torch. It was no longer night, and it was snowing again. Large flakes had circled around the bed and came rushing toward it in a great throng at every new path. Then Maria saw what she had only glimpsed from the window hours ago: the snow fairies soaring through the air and dancing down the aisles of the forest. They were extraordinarily lovely, with their costumes of silver hourfrost and diadems of snowflakes more brilliant than diamonds. They summoned their sleigh bed, whirling and leaping so close together that it was quite dizzying. Then, at the height of their wind dance, the forest and all its spirits seemed to melt into air. The snow was gone. The path had become a little canal of water, bordered with green plants and colorful flowers. The bed was a boat upon it. Far down the canal, Maria could see a flight of stairs at one side, with Nutcracker waiting at the lowest step. As the little boat bed drew up, he stepped abroad beside Maria, and they sailed on. In the distance, a castle seemed to rise out of the water. It gleamed like a giant party cake. Its walls were made of icing. Over the windows were candy flowers, and peppermint stripes spiraled up the tall towers. At intervals stood statues carved out of marzipan. An archway of golden taffy spanned the canal, and under it the boat glided into the castle. It stopped at the flight of broad steps, in a great hall made entirely of rock candy in soft pinks and yellows. A stately lady dressed in gleaming white satin stood at the top of the stairs to receive them, and beyond were so many men and women dressed as if it were a ball. Nutcracker said the lady was the Sugar Plum Fairy, and this was the Fortress of Sweets. He introduced Maria, and then he told everyone how Maria had saved his life and broken the magic spell. Everyone said she had been very brave. The Sugar Plum Fairy escorted the two children to a table overlooking the Rock Candy Hall. People brought in many delicious and unusual foods. For after their battle with the mice and their trip through the forest, Nutcracker and Maria were very hungry. Each kind of refreshment was so prettily decorated that you could tell just what it was. But it was better than ice cream, or cherry pie, or any birthday cake. While they were eating this delectable feast, the court entertained them with music and a series of dances, each representing something good to eat or drink. 2 women in ruffled skirts and 2 men in flaring trousers did the dance of chocolate, which was really a Spanish dance because so much chocolate comes, or used to come, from Spain. That's an interesting fact. I wonder if it's true. Yeah, the story is very long. It is. It's actually it's the older version of it, so it is quite long. Yes, yes, yes. A stern guest did a slow and rather sleepy dance on a rug. The music and his languid movements made you see the hot and lonely desert at night. Servants gave him tiny cups of coffee now and then, for they were great coffee drinkers. 2 girls brought a big box of bamboo, like a tea chest. Out of it vaulted 2 acrobats. Around and around the candy hall they turned cartwheels and flip-flops. One of them vaulted right over the table where Nutcracker and Maria were sitting. This dance was called the Dance of Tea, because, respectively, the dancers enjoyed tea. Next came a number of muscular young men, dressed in red and white stripes, carrying hoops. This was a dance of great agility and speed. The men seemed to fly throughout the air as they drove through their whirling hoops. It was the most brilliant dance of all. The music changed to an airy, soaring waltz. The troupe of dancers looked like flowers floating softly down the balconies and windows between the clear sugar columns. They danced as if borne up into a breeze, and made you think the mountain meadow. Finally, the dandelion seeds, they were wafted up, one after the other, and out between the columns. But now came the most amusing one. How Fritz would have liked it. A very tall woman came in, wearing the most tremendous skirt, like a huge round candy box. Suddenly, she lifted one part of her skirt, and out came the tiniest children, who tumbled and tripped out like dainty bonbons. They were dressed in pink and lavender, pale green and yellow, and there were so many of them, but somehow they all managed to crowd back under the big skirt again, and the candy box lady sidled off. Now the Sugar Plum Fairy came forward with a handsome man to show just what they could do. And this was the best of all, dancing so wonderful that Nutcracker and Maria forgot their caramel sherbet and sat enraptured. Only a dancer could describe the grandeur and charm of those figures, responding to the music in perfect unison, creating a pattern of motion that seemed to fill the vast room with advances and retreats, vigor and grace, till you were hypnotized by its splendor. At the climax, the Sugar Plum Fairy spun like a top at the fiercest speed all the length of the room, and was caught and lifted triumphantly by her partner. When the applause had subsided, the dancers smiled and beckoned for the Nutcracker and Maria to come down. All of the court had gathered round, and the children thanked them, bowing low. Hello, everybody who just came in. Oh, okay, now we're at the last chapter, but don't worry, it's much shorter than the others. Chapter 5. As Maria raised her head, she knew that the court was not there. The light was different, and the ballroom floor was the quilt of her bed at home. She opened her eyes wide. The clear light out of the morning was streaming into her room. An icicle glittered outside of the window pane, and beyond, the sky was intensely blue. There was a faint smell of toast and coffee from downstairs. Then she saw near the fireplace her doll's bed, and the Nutcracker lying in it, in his general's uniform. He seemed to have just awakened too, and he was looking right at her. She thought that he smiled. The door to the hall opened, and Maria's mother came in with a tray of food. "How late you've slept, and on Christmas morning. The storm is over, and the whole world is washed clean. You've never seen such a beautiful Christmas day." She came over and kissed Maria. "I've brought you breakfast in bed, for you're all downstairs. Are you feeling well?" "Yes, Mother, I am. And thank you for breakfast. What a party it was. I was so excited I don't remember her bringing Nutcracker upstairs." "No, darling, I brought him up early this morning. And one of your slippers. The big room was in such a state. There were gumdrops all over the floor." "Mother, is Grandfather a magician?" "Of course not. He's just a clever and ingenious man who is very fond of you." "But how did he bring Nutcracker alive?" "If Nutcracker came alive, it's because you liked him so well. If you love something very much, it's always alive. What a funny child you are today. Now get washed and dressed and have your breakfast. I'll light the fire." The end. And that was the Nutcracker. I hope you guys liked it. And I want you guys to know, really quickly, I've been very brave this whole time. There's a bug sitting on the cup right next to me, and it took everything in my power not to scream. It's still here, and I'm still quite scared. So I'm gonna try to get rid of it. I'll be right back, guys. Okay, I'm back. I took care of the bug. That was very scary. Very scary. It was a very big bug. My gosh, I do have a couple more stories for you guys, but I can go ahead and let you choose this time. Good job. Thank you. I was very brave. Very brave. I think it was a really big stink bug, and it landed on my shoulder as I was reading, and I almost yelled, but I didn't want to scare you guys. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, very scary. My gosh, but yes. I have two more books. They are much shorter than that one, which I didn't realize that one was actually so long. I thought it was much shorter. Did you release the bug? So it was a stink bug, so you're not supposed to crush it. So I have it trapped in a cup next to my garbage, so it won't fly out, because I didn't want to crush it, because if you crush it, it stinks. and then if I just put it in the garbage, it would fly right out. So he's trapped under a cup right now. Oh my gosh, that was actually scary. I feel itchy now. Did you eat it? No, I did not eat it. Why would I eat it? That's icky. Icky, icky, icky. My goodness. But yes, I have a couple more stories, but for those who just filtered in, for new followers, I am Nemu, and we are reading Christmas stories. And we are also running somewhat of a donathon. We have a donation goal, and part of the proceeds will be going towards Team C's, which is a donation that focuses on getting rid of trash from our ocean. It is from Mr. Beast, if you guys know him. Very, very, very nice content creator. And every dollar you donate is a pound of trash taken out of our oceans. The bug shall be gently removed of. I'm not sure what I'll do with him yet, but for right now, since he scared me, he's going to bug jail. Yes. So let's see. I think I will go ahead and do... I will do The Night Before Christmas. That one's pretty short. Yes. I feel like everyone has also already heard this book, so yes. I hope you guys enjoy. 'Twas the night before Christmas. 'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled, all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads. And Mamma in her kerchief, and I in my cap, had just settled our brains for a long winter's nap. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash. Thank you, Pegasus. Yeah, I hope I'm saying that right, but thank you for following. Welcome, welcome. The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave the luster of midday to objects below, when what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick. More rapid than eagles in his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted, and he called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner and Blitzen, to the top of the porch, to the top of the wall. Now dash away, dash away, dash away all. The YouTuber is also me. Oh, thank you so much for following on YouTube as well. Thank you. As dry leaves that before the wild hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky, so up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with the sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas too. Thank you, your local small bean, for following. Welcome, welcome. And then, in a twinkling, I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur, from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and his beard and his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight with his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath. He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump and a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself. A wink of an eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work, and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk, and laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew, like the down of a thistle. But I heard him exclaim, ere he drove through the night, "Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night." The end. That was Twas a Night Before Christmas. I hope you enjoyed that one. Alright, I have one more book for you guys. Can you guys guess what it is? It's definitely one that everybody knows. Well, mostly everybody. It's very popular at the very least. It's by Dr. Seuss. It is How the Grinch Stole Christmas. I figured I would end with a bit of a bang. Let's see. How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. Thank you for following Ordinance. I hope I'm saying that right, but welcome. I'm sorry, hear what I missed. Oh, welcome, Jimmy. It's good to see you. Yes. We're about to read How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps that his shoes are too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart is 2 sizes too small. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow he knew, but whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, Grinchy frown. And the warm light lighted windows below in their town, for he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now, hanging a mistletoe wreath. Let's see, just a quick reminder, Nemu, are you going to talk about the fan art competition? Yes, I will be after this story, I promise. Oh gosh, let's see. All the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys, and then, oh, the noise. That's one thing he hated, the noise. Then the Whos, young and old, would sit down to feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Who's would start singing. They'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. The more the Grinch thought, I already read that part. Why, for 53 years I've put up with this now. I must stop this Christmas from coming. But how? Then he got an idea. An awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around. But since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No. The Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big horn on top of his head. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat, and he chuckled and clucked, what a great Grinchy trick! With this coat and this hat, I will look just like Saint Nick. Thank you, Alex Kaiser, for following. Welcome, welcome. Then the Grinch said giddy up, and the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Who's lay a snooze in their town. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. All their windows were dark. Quiet snow filled the air. All the Who's were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came up to the first little house on the square, this is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. These stockings, he grinned, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates and drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn and plums. And he stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nimbly stuffed all the bags one by one up the chimney. Also, thank you for following. I'm your son. Welcome, welcome. Then he slunk to the icebox, where he took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out the icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. And now, grinned the Grinch, I will stuff up the tree. And the Grinch grabbed the tree, and he started to shove, when he heard a small sound like a coo of a dove. He turned around fast, and he saw a small Who, little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter, who'd got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why? And his fib fooled. But you know that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. Why, my sweet little tot, the fake Santa Claus lied. There is a light on this tree that won't light on one side. so I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, and I'll bring it back here." And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, and he gave her a drink, and he'd sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went up the chimney and stuffed the tree up. Then the last thing he took was the log on the fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On their walls he left nothing but hooks and some wire. And the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Whose houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Whose mouses. It was 1/4 dawn, all the Whos still abed, all the Whos still a snooze, when he packed up his sled. Pack it up with the presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings and the trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load of the tip-top to dump it. "Pooh-pooh to the Whos," he said grinchishly humming. "They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the Whos down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo." "That's a noise," grinned the Grinch, "that I simply must hear." So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear, and he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, the sound sounded merry. It couldn't be, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. When he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, Who's singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came. Somehow or other, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light. And he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. The end. That was the Grinch that stole Christmas. Yes, yes, yes. See? You remember the Grinch living on a snowflake? He actually lived on a mountain, and he could see Whoville from that mountain, and that's how he would look at them every day. I wish I could show the pictures, but yeah. My ASMR VTuber, the algorithm knows me well. Oh, well, welcome, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yes, we just got finished up with our last story. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Are you guys feeling merry? Are you guys feeling bright? I hope that with the whispered stories, you guys will all have a good night. I made a little rhyme. Let's see, but the mountain was on a snowflake? I don't remember that part, but maybe I should watch the movie again. I'm not quite sure. Oh gosh. So do you guys have any favorite Christmas stories? Whether it be one that I read today or another one that maybe you had in mind? These are just the ones that I was able to find. Oh, you melt my heart. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. Feeling tired? Yes, that means it's working. That means it's gonna be a good night's sleep. Nemu dropping bars? I almost stuttered about 3 times, so I wouldn't call it bars. I actually kind of wish maybe I should write a bit of a Christmas poem. What do you guys think? I'm a sucker for a Christmas carol. Oh, I love Christmas carols. Oh my gosh. I love Christmas carols so much. They're so fun. I'm actually a bit, I wouldn't say upset, but I'm definitely a little bit upset that, there's no more, like, Christmas carolers. I wish I was born around that era. Then, door to door, people would just sing little carols. I think that'd be nice. I like a lot of stories that take place around Christmas. You know what? That's fair. That is fair. Hello, Marquise Dayomi. Welcome. Yes. This is so relaxing. Oh, I'm glad. I'm glad you found it relaxing. Christmas song we know you can sing. Actually, I have that as a goal. So for those who have just joined in, I have a goal, as you can see, kind of over here. It's a little down. If I had hands, I would point to it. But I have a donation set up, and there will be milestone rewards, and a percentage of the donations will be going towards Team C's, which is a lovely charity that was made by Mr. Beast, if you guys are familiar. He's the one who did the real-life Squid Games. Yes, it's very fun. And he created Team C's, and it's a charity that is aiming to remove 30 million pounds of trash from the ocean by January 1st. Each dollar is a pound of trash out of the ocean, which I think is absolutely incredible. So I would like to take part of my donations from the next few days, and I would like to donate a portion of it to Team C's for the cause. Yes. Thank you for streaming this evening, Nemu. It's been nice. I still have a little bit left. I think I can entertain you guys for a little bit longer. Also, thank you, Marquise, for following. Welcome. Yes. But yes, I do have a few milestones which I can go over, but first, I would like to announce the winners of the holiday art contest that I had held this month. Yes. Let me go ahead and pull up my results. Let's see. Alright, I will go ahead and I will announce the person that came in second place. Also, thank you for the follow, Conservative Geek. Welcome. Yes. So let me go ahead. I will announce the runner-up right away. The person that came in second place is Oh Shoot Trey. I will be posting the art that I have up on Twitter tomorrow. Yes. And you've won a custom voice line from me, so I will message you later about that. We can discuss your prize. The person that won first place is Drade. Now, I think he goes by a different name in Discord, but I'm not sure. I did message you guys privately as well, and he won a full custom ASMR audio from me. Yes, very, very excited. So thank you, you two, for entering. I'm so happy you guys took the time to make art. It's very, very sweet of you guys. So thank you again. That's me. Yes, congratulations, Oh Shoot Trey. Thank you. Yes, little claps. Yeah. But yes, that's very exciting. And then I can go over the milestones for for the donation I have set up. This will be going until the 23rd approximately. But yes. The first milestone is for once we hit $100, we will have a new piece of art. It'll be me in a different outfit. I'll be posting it on Twitter and YouTube. And on Discord. I will put it in the Discord as well. Hey, Gentle. How should I introduce you into my season series? Oh gosh, I'm not sure. I suppose I'll have to leave that up to you if it's your own story. Oh yeah, read harder, please. We've actually finished reading up. Right now I'm just gonna kind of go over my the milestones I have set. So $100, once we reach 100, we will get new scab art, which is very fun. I'm very excited to share it with you guys. Once we hit 200, you guys will hit a full Valerie stream. I know some of you guys really like Valerie and have been asking for this. So, yeah. So that will be once we hit 200. For 300, you guys will get a Tomboy GF behind the scenes stream, which will be very interesting. I hope you guys look forward to it if we hit that goal. Once we hit 400, we're going to be doing a Discord movie night with the John Wick trilogy. Yes. Oh dear, I just imagine Valerie trying to do bedtime stories. Oh, she's a treat. I think it would be very funny. Yes, and then if we hit the 500, I will be doing a holiday karaoke stream on the 23rd of this month. Anything beyond that, I will donate fully to Team C's as well. So I hope you guys are interested and look forward to seeing what we can contribute to the cause. Yes. A full Valerie stream? I know not if the world is ready for such wonder. Oh, I know. But I was thinking you guys do really seem to like Valerie. So I would like to, give you guys something special, especially as this close to Christmas. Yes. With that being said, I am going to go ahead and pick out someone to raid. So pardon me, I'm gonna mute my keyboard is very loud. Let's see, we have quite a few people active as of tonight, so should I continue with the trend of the ASMR, or would you guys like to go to something a bit, relaxing, but still, something going on? Valerie is a part of you, so how could we not like her? Oh, thank you, King. That's very sweet. I can post an image link here with permission, of course. Are you okay with that, Nemu? I will go ahead and be posting them on Twitter. But yes. I will definitely be sharing it to show everyone what you guys made. It was very sweet. Thank you again. But yes, actually there's someone that I have not rated before, and I'm very interested in kind of watching their streams. They are currently doing art, and so I'm kind of curious, would you guys like to check him out? His name is Crimbo. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of him, but he is a very fun, very outgoing person. Definitely very nice. I think I'm gonna go ahead and raid him tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and mute again though. I will have to type in his name. Alright, there we go. That is all set. So I hope you guys will join me in watching his art stream. I will forewarn you, I don't know how loud his stream is. So if you're awake and listening, go ahead and turn your volume down. I'm not sure how loud he is or if he's playing music or anything. I don't want you guys who are drifting off to be startled awake. But yes. We are going to go ahead and rate him. Again, thank you guys so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure meeting all of the new followers and subscribers, along with all of our Snuggly supporters. But yes, thank you guys so much for joining. And with that, I will go ahead and raid. So thank you again, guys. Good night.